lovelies, welcome to Read with Crid, where you read with me, Crid. Today we'll be reading our final story from Flights of Fancy. The story is called The Third Gift by Jan Carew, and let's begin. In long time past days, there was a black prophet named Amakosa, who was the leader of the Jubas, a clan of herdsmen and wanderers. When Amakosa felt age nesting inside his tired limbs and was certain that the soft footsteps he had following him were those of Mantop, Death's messenger boy, he summoned the elders of the clan to a palaver. It was a time when endless seasons of drought and dust were scattering the Jubas and their herds like silk cotton blossoms in the wind, and their clan was threatened with extinction. The leaders gathered in a circle and drank libations. As the sacred gourd was passed around, dark hands, lean and veined, trembled like leaves. Amakosa, with his old and cunning eyes gleaming in nests of wrinkled flesh, said calmly, "We must find green pastures and places where the wind brings rain, and where the vampire sun is no longer king." "Aye, aye," the people said in chorus. "Lead us there and we will follow you." So the Jubas packed up their belongings and followed Amakosa across the parched savannas, where the wind had bent the thorn trees like old men's backs, where the stunted elephant grass hissed like snakes. Through endless seasons of waxing and waning moons, they left a trail of bones picked clean by vultures and bleached by the sun. One evening, when the gloaming was giving way to starlight and pale lightnings, they came to the foot of a mountain whose peak was lost in the stars. They washed their dirty limbs in the cool streams and threw themselves down on the innocent grass wherever sleep surprised them. They woke up at day, clean and refreshed, and stretching themselves like ocelots, they asked, "What is this mountain called, Amakosa?" "It has no name, so we will call it Nameless Mountain," Amakosa said. "And what is this place called, Amakosa?" "We will call it Arisa, the place of springs." The Jubas settled in Arisa, and when Mantop, Death's messenger boy, finally knocked on his door, Amakosa called all the Jubas together and said, "Listen well to what I have to say. My face has bitten against many years, and now Mantop has sent for me. You must choose a leader to succeed me. When I have gone, all the young men must make their way up the Nameless Mountain. The one that climbs the highest and brings back a gift of the wonders that he saw, him you must make your leader." The Jubas were silent when Mantop led their prophet away. When sunset was casting long shadows, they saw the two, a headless man with a flute stuck in his throat, and the old man Amakosa, bent with weight of long years, walking towards the river of night. And at Daklin, even the wind was heavy with lamentation. Then all the young men set out up towards Nameless Mountain, up past the orchids and wild vines on the mossy face of the rocks, up to where the wild mango strips the slopes with white blossoms, up to where secret springs gurgle into rivers. Up and up they climbed until all they could hear was the wind in the stranger trees and the echoes of drums in the plains. Toward the evening, one man came back weary and sleepy as mud, and the others followed, dragging their feet. But the one that climbed the highest came running deer speed down the mountainside, holding something in his hand high above his head. He didn't stop until he reached the village square. The Jubas crowded around him and chorused, "Show us the wonderful thing you have brought, brother man." And the young man said, come closer and see." He opened his hand and declared, "This is what I have brought. I never saw, hand never touched a gift like this." And the woman cried out with wonder, "Look at the curve of it, the way it catches the light. It is truly a wonderful thing." The gift that the young man had brought was a stone, and when its stone caught the light, it had all the colors of the mountain orchids and the rainbows and more. "But what is the message in this stone?" people asked. "This stone brings us the gift of work," the young man said. "Since we wandered to the green in this country. We have become idle, and idleness is more terrible a threat than drought or hunger. And looking at the stone, all of the Jubas had a vision of plowshares and axe blades, endless fields of maize and cassava, and harvest times filled with the songless singing of the drums. Jawa, the man who had brought the gift of work, ruled for a long time, and the Juba nation multiplied, and the memory of hunger and laziness was pushed far away from them. But the time came when Mantop, Death's messenger boy, knocked on Jawa's door of the reeds, and he too had to walk the trail of the river of night. The lamentation weighed heavy on the hearts of those he left behind. So once again, at 4-day morning, the young men set out up Nameless Mountain. And Cabo, the man who had climbed the highest this time, came down the mountainside, softly. He could not hurry because the gift he brought was a mountain flower. And when he stood in the center of the village square holding this marvelous flower in hand, it was clear for all to see that he had brought these people the gift of beauty. They crowded around him to marvel at the curve of the petals and the colors and the way the pistil caught the light and made the pollen glitter like jewels. The singing drums and the song makers sang Cabo's praises far into the night. Cabo ruled through many moons, and the Juba country became a place to wonder at. The door of every house had flowers painted on it in bright vermilion colors. The girls wore flowers in their hair. Flowers without number were carved out of wood and stone, and every canoe was built with a flower sculpted on its prow. But the Jubas grew dissatisfied. They had work and beauty, but yet they wanted more. Some began to mutter that they were thinking of moving to another country, down the river and across the plains. So when Mantop sent for Cabo, everyone knew that his successor would have to bring back a powerful gift from Nameless Mountain to hold the nation together. Cabo went on his journey to the river of the night, quietly, and for the third time the young men set up Nameless Mountain. Amongst them was a dreaming, sad-faced son of Tiho, the hunter who was called Aika, the quiet one. Aika was always as if he was gnawing at the bones of everlasting griefs. He took a trail on the far side of a Nameless Mountain, where none of the others dared follow. When night fell and the fireflies brightened in the fields of the forests like fallen stars, everyone returned except Aika. And the weary ones who had returned said, "We saw him parting the clouds and climbing up and up, and none of us had the strength to follow him." When Aika did not return by the next morning, the Jubas sent search parties to look for him and posted lookouts on the mountainside. Sun and moon lengthened many shadows, still Aika did not return. There was plenty of talk about him and how he had gone his lonesome way to die on Nameless Mountain. But one morning, bright with dew and singing birds, Aika came running down the mountainside, parting the long grass and leaping from rock to rock. He was clenching his fist and holding his hand high above his head. He reached the riverbank and crossed the cassava fields, trampling down the young plant. When he came to the village square, he did not stop, and the people said, Aye, Aika, you are home, man. We were waiting for you until our hearts became weary with waiting." But he kept on running, and again they shouted, "You're home, Aika, you're home." Aika would have run straight across the village square and away towards the field of elephant grass if he had not tripped on a piece of firewood. He fell and lay panting as though his chest was going to burst, but still keeping his fist clenched. "What gift have you brought us, brother man? Talk to us. What did you see above the clouds on Nameless Mountain?" For a long time Aika could find no words to answer them, but Leza, the healer, came and anointed him with kuru oil. The men could not wait to see the gift he had brought, so they pried his fist open. But when they opened Aika's hand, it was empty. When Aika found his tongue again, he said, "I went up to the clouds and over and above them, and I did not know how long it took, because past the clouds there was a brightness that blinded my eyes. Then there came a time when all I felt was a soft carpet under my feet, and when I breathed the mountain air, it was like drawing knife blades up my nostrils. When my sight came back, I found myself on the mountain top. Lord, you must have seen the whole world from up there, Aika, a young man exclaimed. Yes, and when I stood up there, a soft white thing like rain started to fall, and yet it wasn't like rain because it felt like leaves when there was no wind. I gathered this downy whiteness in my hand, but the farther down the mountain I ran, the less of it I was holding. So I went back for more and ran down the mountain again. 4 times I did this, and every time I was heading home for bad speed, this magic thing melted in my hand. All I bring with me now is a memory of it. The feel of the sky and the bite of the wind, the fire and ice burning in my hand. And the people listening believed, for this quiet young man, when he did speak, could rabble like singing birds sweet. And when he spoke, his words would grow inside your head like seeds. Aika became the prophet of the Jubas, for he had brought the best gift of all, the gift of fantasy, of imagination, and of faith. So with the gifts of work and beauty and imagination, the Jubas became poets and bards and creators, and they live at the foot of Nameless Mountain to this day. That was a wonderful story. I feel like that's the story of writing and creativity, because from fantasy, from imagination, that's where we get the gist, the idea, the whole concept of creating. Well, that's it for today, for this week. Next week we will start on book B. This was book A. So next week we'll either have a story time, a book review, or a children's story. Let me know in the comment section below which one you'd like. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I will see you next week with more content.